And we were trying to figure out what inspiration was. And I was telling him we were talking about inspiration and motivation. The difference between inspiration and motivation. Right? And, you know, it's very much like what The Secret teaches you. And, you know, all the laws of attraction and all this other kind of stuff are motivation techniques. We have motivational speakers. And I like to think of motivation as kind of like, let's say you are a balloon. Here you are, you're a balloon. And you want to grow, right? You want to get taller, you want to bigger, you want a greater perspective or what have you. And motivation is like taking two hands and pushing on the outside of that balloon. And what happens when you push on the outside of the balloon? Certainly it grows. But if for 1 second you let up on either one of those hands and you lose track of your motivation or you got busy, you couldn't do this, and the pressure releases, what happens? Balloon goes right back to where it was. So for me, motivation is a waste of time. Don't bother with it. I don't bother with it. I recommend you consider not bothering with it anymore. As opposed to inspiration, which is like blowing air into the balloon. But what is that inspiration? So we were sitting there having lunch trying to figure that out. And the best we could come up with at that lunch meeting was that inspiration is the feeling you get doing something bigger than yourself. Which then ties into the idea of the selfless service and uplifting and nurturing all life and what you are, the spirit of unconditional love. Experiencing peace and truth wherever you go. Using the wizardly way for the good of everyone at the expense of no one. When you are working your life, whether how big or how small, if it's your family, if it's your neighbors in your apartment complex, or if it's your entire community, doing something bigger than yourself. It's what gives you that inspiration. Now, when you have this balloon, you have an inspiration. There's only two ways. Somebody comes to you with an inspiration, let's say, and they're blowing up their balloon. Now, there's only two ways that you can respond when someone comes to you with an inspired thought. And I characterize that as either plussing or bleeding. And if you respond to their inspiration with plussing, you're saying, yes, 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 oh, how can, and you try to expand it with them, and by doing so, you're blowing air into the balloon. Now, if you're bleeding, oh, well, if everyone could have done that, or you know how many mistakes are, and how much money it's going to take, or whatever, on and on and on. It's like taking little needles and putting them in the balloon all over the place, so that that person who has the inspiration has to blow that much harder to keep it inflated. So in what ways are you plussing and bleeding in this world? These are all real questions that you have to ask yourself. Because if you're unhappy and it ain't working and you don't feel good, a few of these considerations can change all of that for you. It's not rocket science. It really isn't.